I want to send a special thank you to all my new subscribers. If you have not subscribed, make sure you do so and hit that bell so that way you receive notifications when I upload videos. So everybody's been following this trial with Amber Guyger, who was a Dallas police officer recently convicted of murdering Botham Jean, who was 26 years old at the time, back in September of 2018. Both Amber and Botham lived at the same apartment complex, and shortly after Amber left work, she fatally shoots Botham after entering Botham's apartment thinking it was her own. Botham's apartment was literally one floor directly above Amber's. Even though Amber was off duty, but she was still dressed in her uniform when she confronted Botham. The jury deliberated for less than 24 hours before returning with a guilty verdict, giving her 10 years in prison. But here's the thing. Texas law states that a person who's convicted of murder has to at least serve half of their sentence before they're even eligible for parole. So technically, she'll be eligible for parole after serving a minimum of 5 years in prison. The Botham family stated that they didn't want her to serve any jail time. The younger brother offered his forgiveness while reading his victim impact statement, and he even gave her a hug before returning to his seat. So in the event that Amber does go before a parole board, more than likely the family is going to offer their support. But the part that got me floored, that had me literally speechless, was Judge Kemp. Judge Kemp gave Amber a hug and also gave Amber her personal Bible before they took Amber out of the courtroom. I've never seen a judge hug a defendant, and I've never seen a judge show sympathy to a convicted murderer in front of the victim's family. I'm not sure if this is a normal practice for her or whether she did it because the Dallas Police Association at one point in time endorsed her as a judge. I don't know. I've just never seen that before. But a lot of the witnesses in this case is being stalked, harassed, and even recently one witness was murdered. Now, Bunny Babs, she was one of the witnesses who filmed the entire aftermath of what happened after the shooting of Botham Jean. She was fired from her job and she started receiving death threats. Now recently, I believe this happened the day after Amber's conviction, Joshua Brown, he was one of the witnesses who testified as a key witness in that trial. He was the neighbor who lived directly across the hall from Botham, and he testified as to hearing Botham singing on numerous occasions. And one of the defense for Amber was basically saying that upon her entering the apartment, she started giving Botham commands to let her see his hands. And this was one of the pieces where Joshua Brown spoke that he had never heard her yelling any type of commands. And this was the same statement that other witnesses who lived at that complex said as well. So 10:30 p.m., Joshua Brown was killed after being shot several times by an unknown person at his apartment complex in Dallas. Now, he was shot at close range after exiting his vehicle. Several witnesses flagged down police and led them to Brown, who was laying on the ground. He was taken to the hospital where he died from his injuries. Now, witnesses said that shortly after hearing gunshots, they saw a silver or a gray Ford sedan speeding out of the parking lot. There is different reports coming out that he was shot in the face, in the mouth. He was shot in the chest, and then there are other reports that he was shot in the butt and he was shot on the side. Now, if he was shot in the mouth, I think that would be a clear message that he was not supposed to be speaking during this trial. But it's even, it's hard to say that that he wasn't targeted, because this happened so soon after Amber was convicted of murder. And it's like, do we really, or does the family, can a family really trust that the Dallas Police Department is going to find this man's killer, especially after he testified against the Dallas police officer and helped her receive a murder conviction? I just don't feel like this whole thing was a coincidence that he was murdered so soon after this trial. So I feel like the smart thing to do is not to jump to conclusions. I think that we all need to wait for the medical examiner to release more information as to his death and how he was murdered before we start jumping to conclusions. But it definitely looks suspect. And I would say that any other witnesses in this trial or this case need to be very careful, and they should probably take extra measures to protect themselves. But I don't know, it's a sad thing when people try to step up to do the right thing and they're targeted like this. But you guys, tell me what your thoughts are, and I will see you in the next video.